The transit center was buzzing with the usual Saturday chaos, families racing to catch trains, children's laughter echoing off high ceilings, the rich smell of coffee and fresh pastries filling the air. Then, in the middle of it all, a tiny hand moved. 3 taps, slow, deliberate, silent. A 5-year-old girl in an oversized grey hoodie tapped her sleeve while staring directly at a German shepherd in a police vest. No one else noticed, no one else understood, but the dog did. Instantly, Titan froze mid-step. His ears shot forward. His entire body went rigid. A low, guttural growl cut through the noise like a blade, stopping nearby travelers in their tracks. Then, without warning, Titan lunged toward the girl with such explosive force that his handler nearly lost her grip on the leash. Officer Maggie Roberts grabbed the leather strap with both hands, her mind racing. Titan, what the? Trained police dogs didn't react this way to children, ever, not unless something was desperately, terribly wrong. But the little girl walking away with a woman in a bright blue coat didn't scream, didn't cry. She just stood there, staring back at Titan with wide, desperate eyes, and tapped her sleeve again. 3 times. Why would a child signal a police dog? Why was Titan reacting like her life was in danger? And why did that woman's perfect, patient smile look so rehearsed? Within minutes, Titan would uncover a truth so chilling, the entire transit hub would fall silent. Stay with us, because this story will leave you speechless. Before we begin, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And I'm really curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The transit center had been alive since dawn. Rolling suitcases rattled across polished floors, overhead announcements crackled through speakers, and exhausted travelers shuffled between platforms with glazed expressions. It was the kind of chaotic Saturday morning where everyone was too focused on their own stress to notice anything else. But Officer Maggie Roberts had trained herself to see what others overlooked. Standing beside her was Titan, one of the most trusted K-9 officers in the entire department. The German shepherd sat at attention, ears alert, scanning the moving sea of humanity with sharp, intelligent eyes. Maggie took a slow breath, feeling the familiar weight of weekend patrol duty settling over her shoulders. Saturdays always brought heavier crowds, shorter tempers, and higher risks. Families rushing to make connections, kids running in every direction, distractions everywhere. Maggie hadn't always trusted Titan with her life. 2 years ago, she barely knew his name. It was a warehouse raid that changed everything. A routine drug bust that went sideways in seconds. She'd been clearing the second floor when the floorboards gave way beneath her boots. One moment she was moving forward, weapon drawn. The next, she was falling through rotted wood into darkness. She hit the ground hard, pain exploded through her ribs, and then she heard it, footsteps, heavy, deliberate, someone was coming. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Her gun had skidded somewhere into the shadows. Then Titan appeared. Not beside her handler, alone. The German shepherd had broken free, crashed through the warehouse, and positioned himself over Maggie's body like a living shield. When the suspect rounded the corner, Titan didn't bark, didn't growl, he launched. 70 pounds of muscle and fury, colliding with a man twice his size. By the time backup arrived, the suspect was on the ground, Titan's jaws locked around his forearm, and Maggie was still breathing. That night, she requested a permanent partnership. Titan had earned it. Now standing in the transit center with her hand resting on his warm fur, Maggie felt that same bone-deep certainty. Titan didn't just follow commands. He read the world in ways humans couldn't. He detected lies in body language, fear in scent, danger in stillness. He was her truth detector. And right now, watching him scan the crowd with laser focus, she knew he was seeing something she wasn't. Maggie's phone buzzed. A text from her ex-husband, picking up Emma at 6, don't be late again. She closed her eyes briefly. Emma, her 5-year-old daughter, the reason Maggie worked every overtime shift she could get, the reason she couldn't afford to lose this job, the reason she second-guessed every instinct that screamed at her to act. Because what if she was wrong? What if her paranoia, the same hypervigilance that kept her daughter safe, became the thing that cost her everything? Titan's ears twitched. Maggie looked up. And that's when she saw them. A woman in a bright blue coat walking calmly through the crowd, 4 children trailing behind her in a neat, silent line. Something was wrong. Maggie couldn't explain it, couldn't name it, but every nerve in her body lit up like a warning flare. The smallest child, a girl in an oversized grey hoodie, turned her head and looked directly at Titan. Then slowly, deliberately, she raised her hand to her sleeve and tapped 3 times. Maggie forced herself to look closer. The woman in the blue coat moved through the crowd with practiced ease, her smile warm and patient as she glanced back at the children. A perfect mother, calm, confident, in control. But the children… Maggie's stomach tightened. They didn't look at each other, didn't talk, didn't touch. 4 kids walking in a line like strangers forced into formation. The oldest boy, maybe 8, wore sneakers at least 2 sizes too big. They flopped with each step, untied laces dragging across the floor. The girl beside him had a pink jacket with a name scribbled in permanent marker on the collar, JSSICA. But when the woman called back to her, she said, "Come on, sweetie, stay close." "Not Jessica, sweetie." Maggie's pulse quickened. The 3rd child, a boy in a green hoodie, had his hands shoved deep in his pockets, shoulders hunched like he was trying to disappear. His jeans were rolled at the ankles, too long, wrong size, wrong fit. And the smallest one, the girl in the oversized grey hoodie who'd tapped her sleeve. She wore mismatched socks, one pink, one blue. Maggie had dressed her own daughter that morning. Emma had fought her on every piece of clothing, insisting on wearing her tutu over her leggings. Kids had opinions, kids had preferences, kids made noise. These children were silent. Too silent. The woman's smile never faltered. She reached out and gently touched the oldest boy's shoulder, getting him toward the exit, a perfect, maternal gesture. But the boy flinched. Just a fraction, just enough. Maggie's hand instinctively moved to her radio. Then stopped. "What are you going to say? That a woman is walking with kids who aren't dressed well, that they're quiet?" She could already hear the response. "Officer Roberts, are you serious right now?" She'd been written up before for being overzealous, for stopping a man who turned out to be a grandfather picking up his grandson, for questioning a nanny who had every legal document proving her employment. Her captain had pulled her aside. "Maggie, I know you mean well, but you can't stop every parent who looks stressed." She couldn't afford another mistake, not with Emma depending on her, not with her custody arrangement hanging by a thread. "You're being paranoid. She's just a stressed mom with a lot of kids. Maybe they're foster kids, maybe they're tired, maybe." Titan growled. Low, guttural, the sound vibrated through the leash and into Maggie's hand like an electric shock. The woman and the children were 20 feet from the exit, and the little girl in the grey hoodie turned back one more time. Her eyes locked on Maggie's, and she mouthed 2 words. "Help me." Time slowed. The little girl's lips moved again. "Help me," silent, desperate. Then her hand rose to her sleeve. "Tab, tab, tab." 3 deliberate strikes against the grey fabric. Titan exploded. The growl that ripped from his chest wasn't a warning. It was primal, protective, the sound of a predator recognizing prey or a guardian recognizing danger. His entire body went rigid, ears shot forward, muscles coiled. Then he lunged. The leash burned through Maggie's palm as 70 pounds of German Shepherd surged forward with enough force to nearly rip her off her feet. Her shoulder wrenched, her boots skidded across the polished floor. Titan, no. But he wasn't listening. His eyes were locked on the little girl, his barks sharp and relentless, echoing through the transit center like gunshots. People scattered, a woman screamed, a man yanked his toddler backward. "Control that dog. What the hell is wrong with it?" The woman in the blue coat spun around, her face a perfect mask of shock and indignation. "Excuse me, what is happening?" But the children didn't move, didn't run. They stood frozen, staring at Titan like he was the only thing standing between them and oblivion. And the little girl, Caitlin, her eyes filled with tears. She tapped her sleeve again. 3 times. Maggie's heart slammed against her ribs. Every instinct she'd spent 2 years suppressing roared to life. The warehouse, the falling, the moment Titan had appeared out of nowhere to save her. He knows. Dogs didn't react like this to nothing. Titan had been trained to detect explosives, weapons, threats. He'd never reacted to a child this way. Unless that child was in danger. Maggie made her decision in a heartbeat. "Ma'am, I need you to stop." Her voice cut through the chaos, sharp and commanding. The woman's smile faltered, just for a second. "Officer, I don't know what you think." "I said stop." Maggie closed the distance, her hand hovering near her radio. Titan positioned himself between the woman and the children, still growling, hackles raised. The woman's eyes flickered to the exit, 20 feet away, freedom. "These are my children," she said slowly, her voice hardening. "And unless you have a warrant or probable cause, you have no right." "Caitlin," Maggie's voice dropped, gentle now, "is that your name, sweetheart?" The little girl's eyes went wide. The woman's jaw tightened. And that's when Maggie saw it. The woman's hand, slowly, deliberately, reaching into her coat pocket. Titan's growl deepened. Maggie's hand flew to her weapon. "Don't move." The woman's hand froze halfway into her pocket. "I said don't move." Maggie's voice was steel. For 3 seconds, nobody breathed. Then the woman slowly withdrew her hand, empty, and raised both palms in a gesture of wounded innocence. "Officer, I was reaching for my phone to call my lawyer." Her voice shifted, louder now, performative. "I don't know what you think you saw, but these are my children, and we're late for our train." She glanced around at the growing crowd, her eyes finding sympathetic faces. "If you don't have a warrant or probable cause, I'm leaving." Maggie felt it immediately, the shift in the air. A woman nearby whispered to her husband. An elderly man shook his head, muttering something about police overreach. Phones lifted, camera lenses focused. The woman's smile returned, thin and knowing. "Unless you're accusing me of something." Maggie's throat tightened. She could feel her career hanging in the balance. One wrong move, one accusation without proof. "You're harassing a mother in front of her kids." But Titan didn't move. He stood like a wall between the woman and Caitlin, his growl a constant, rumbling warning. "Ma'am, I need to verify." "Verify what?" The woman's voice rose, cracking with indignation. "That I'm traveling with my own children. This is harassment." Someone in the crowd called out, "Let her go." Another voice, "She hasn't done anything wrong." Maggie's pulse thundered in her ears. The exit was right there. If the woman walked out now, if she took those children and disappeared into the city, you'll never find them again. Caitlin stood perfectly still, her small body trembling. And then, so quietly no one else could see, she raised her hand. "Taboo, taboo, taboo." The silent signal, again. Maggie grabbed her radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Roberts, badge 2847. I need backup at the main terminal, east exit, possible 207A in progress." Her voice was calm, but her hand shook. "I need it now." The woman's face drained of color. 207A, you're calling me a kidnapper." The crowd erupted. "This is insane. She's just trying to catch a train. Someone record this." But the woman's mask was cracking, sweat beaded on her forehead, her breathing quickened. Her eyes darted to the exit again, calculating, desperate. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she hissed. "You have no right." Titan barked, sharp, vicious. And one of the other children, the boy in the green hoodie, whispered something so quietly Maggie almost missed it. "Please don't let her take us again." Again. The word hit Maggie like a fist. The woman lunged for the exit. Maggie moved faster. She grabbed the woman's arm as she bolted, spinning her back with enough force to make the crowd gasp. "You're not going anywhere." Two transit officers arrived within seconds, flanking the group. The woman didn't resist, not physically, but her voice became a weapon. "This is assault. I'm being detained without cause. Someone call the news." They were escorted through a side door, away from the cameras and shouting voices, down a narrow hallway into a windowless security office. 4 monitors lined one wall, a metal table, 6 chairs, fluorescent lights that buzzed like dying insects. The woman dropped into a chair, her hands shaking as she pulled out her phone. "I'm calling my lawyer, right now. You've made the biggest mistake of your career." But her voice cracked, just slightly. Maggie watched her carefully. The polished facade was crumbling. Sweat darkened the woman's hairline. Her leg bounced under the table. Her eyes kept flicking to the door, calculating escape routes. "Put the phone down," Maggie said quietly. "I have rights." "And so do they." Maggie nodded toward the children. All 4 sat in a row against the wall, hands folded in their laps, staring at the floor, silent, obedient, terrified. Caitlin's small fingers twisted the edge of her hoodie. The boy in the green jacket had tears streaming down his face, but he didn't make a sound. Titan lay at Maggie's feet, his eyes never leaving the woman. One of the transit officers leaned toward Maggie. "You sure about this?" No, she wasn't sure about anything, but she nodded anyway. "I need your security footage," Maggie said. "Last 2 hours, all cameras covering the main terminal, platforms, and food court." The officer hesitated. "That's a lot of footage." "Then start pulling it, now." The woman laughed, bitter, sharp. "You're insane. You're going to lose your job over this. I'll sue you personally. I'll sue the department. I'll." "Ma'am," Maggie's voice was ice. "If these children are yours, the footage will prove it. If they're not." She let the sentence hang. The woman's jaw clenched. Her knuckles went white around her phone. Minutes crawled by. The room felt smaller with every passing second. The fluorescent lights hummed. The children didn't move. Finally, the door opened. A security officer stepped in, his face pale. "You need to see this." Maggie's heart stopped. The woman stood abruptly, her chair scraping across the floor. "See what? There's nothing to see." But the security officer wasn't looking at her. He was looking at the children. "Officer Roberts," he said slowly, "these kids, they're not hers." The woman's phone slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. And Caitlin started to cry. Maggie knelt slowly in front of Caitlin, her voice soft as a whisper. "Sweetheart, I need you to tell me the truth. Do you know this woman?" Caitlin's bottom lip trembled. She shook her head. "Have you ever seen her before today?" Another shake, tears spilled down her cheeks. The woman shot to her feet. "Don't talk to her. You have no right to question a child without a parent present." "Sit down." Maggie's command was quiet but absolute. The woman sank back into her chair, her breathing ragged. Maggie turned to the boy in the green hoodie. "What's your name?" His voice was barely audible. "Michael." "Do you know her, Michael?" He stared at the floor, then slowly he shook his head. She said my mom sent her. She said there was an emergency." The girl in the pink jacket, Jessica's jacket, started sobbing. "I don't know where my dad is. I want my dad." One by one, the children broke. None of them knew the woman. None of them knew each other. They'd been taken, separately, within hours. The woman's face was bone white. "They're confused. They're tired. Kids get confused." "Stop talking," Maggie's voice cut like glass. She turned back to Caitlin, whose tiny hand was clutching Titan's fur like a lifeline. The dog pressed closer to her, offering silent comfort. "Caitlin," Maggie whispered, "why did you tap your sleeve?" Caitlin's voice was so small Maggie had to lean in to hear. "My mommy taught me." "Your mommy? She's a police officer like you." Caitlin's tears came harder now. "She has a dog too. His name is Max." Maggie's chest tightened. "Where's your mommy now, sweetheart?" Caitlin's face crumpled. She went missing a year ago. Daddy says she's still working, but she never came home." The room went silent. "Before she left," Caitlin whispered, "she taught me the signal. She said if I'm ever scared and I see a police dog, I should tap 3 times. She said the dog would know. She said the dog would save me." Maggie's throat closed. A K-9 officer, missing, and her daughter had remembered. "So when I saw Titan," Caitlin continued, her voice breaking, "I tapped, because I was really, really scared." The woman stood abruptly, her chair crashing backward. "This is a misunderstanding. I was helping them. Someone asked me to." "Who?" Maggie's voice was sharp as a blade. "Who asked you?" The woman's mouth opened, closed. Her eyes darted to the door again. And then, from the hallway, voices erupted. Shouting, running footsteps. The door burst open. A man in a grey hoodie stood in the doorway, the same man from the security footage, and his hand was reaching for something under his jacket. Titan lunged. "Get down!" Maggie's hand flew to her weapon as Titan launched himself at the man. The impact sent them both crashing into the hallway, snarling, shouting, chaos. 2 transit officers tackled the man, pinning him to the ground. His hand came out of his jacket, empty, but clenched around a phone, not a weapon. Maggie's heart hammered as backup flooded the corridor. The woman in the blue coat tried to bolt, but an officer blocked the door. "Cuff them both," Maggie ordered, her voice shaking with adrenaline. Within minutes, both suspects were restrained, separated, silent. The children huddled together in the corner, Titan standing guard. "Officer Roberts," the security officer gestured toward the monitors, "you need to see this, all of it." Maggie turned to the screens. The first clip began at 12:47 p.m., Platform 3. An elderly woman with silver hair set down her purse to check the departure board. Beside her, a boy in oversized sneakers, Michael, looked around nervously. In the background, barely visible, a man in a grey hoodie bumped into the grandmother, spilling her coffee. She gasped, distracted. And the woman in the blue coat appeared. She knelt beside Michael, whispered something, and took his hand. He hesitated. She smiled, warm, reassuring. They walked away together. The timestamp jumped, 1:15 p.m., food court. A father argued loudly with a cashier over a wrong order. His daughter, the girl in the pink jacket, stood alone 3 feet away, clutching a stuffed rabbit. The man in the grey hoodie walked past and accidentally knocked over a tray of drinks. The crash was loud. Everyone turned. The woman in blue appeared again. She crouched, said something to the girl, gestured toward the exit. The girl followed. 1:52 p.m., restroom hallway. Caitlin stood alone, crying, her face streaked with tears. No adult in sight. The woman approached slowly, gently, like a concerned stranger. She touched Caitlin's shoulder, whispered, pointed. Caitlin hesitated, then nodded. They disappeared down the corridor together. 2:10 p.m., ticket kiosks. A young boy waited while his mother fumbled with a malfunctioning ticket machine. The man in the grey hoodie walked up, pretended to help, then accidentally locked the machine completely. The mother swore, walked away to find an attendant. The woman in blue took the boy's hand. Maggie's blood turned to ice. Every single abduction, coordinated, timed, professional. Person A creates the distraction. Person B takes the child. The security officer's voice was hollow. They've done this before. Maggie turned slowly toward the woman in handcuffs. Her perfect maternal mask was gone now, replaced by something cold, empty. How many? Maggie's voice was barely a whisper. How many children have you taken? The woman smiled, thin, cruel. You'll never find them all. And that's when Maggie's phone rang. The caller ID said, missing PRSONS K9 unit. Maggie answered the phone with trembling hands. Roberts. Officer Roberts, this is Detective Chen, missing persons. We've been tracking a pattern, transit hubs, shopping centers, amusement parks, over 40 missing children in the last 18 months. His voice was grim. We think you just caught the primary team. 40 children. Maggie's knees nearly buckled. Parents are on their way, Chen continued. We've been calling them for the past 20 minutes. The line went dead. Maggie turned back to the children, 4 small bodies pressed together in the corner, holding each other like they were afraid to let go. Titan lay at their feet, his presence the only thing keeping them from completely falling apart. Then the door burst open. Michael! A woman with wild eyes and mascara-streaked cheeks rushed into the room. She dropped to her knees, arms outstretched, sobbing his name over and over. The boy in the green hoodie looked up, then ran. He crashed into her so hard they both fell backward, his small body shaking with sobs. Mom, Mom, Mom. I've got you, baby. I've got you. Maury parents arrived. A father sprinting down the hallway, a grandmother moving faster than Maggie thought possible. Each reunion was the same, disbelief, then relief, then uncontrollable tears. The girl in the pink jacket was lifted into her father's arms. He buried his face in her hair, whispering, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I looked away for 1 second. It's not your fault, Maggie said quietly, but he didn't hear her. Then Caitlin's father arrived. He appeared in the doorway, his face ashen, his hands shaking. He saw her sitting against the wall, Titan's head resting on her lap. Caitlin! Her head snapped up. Daddy! She ran. He collapsed to his knees and caught her, his arms wrapping around her so tightly Maggie thought he'd never let go. His entire body shook with sobs. I thought I lost you, I thought, his voice broke. Your mother would never forgive me. I thought I lost you too. Caitlin clung to him, crying into his shoulder. Mommy taught me, Daddy. She taught me the signal. And Titan saw, he saw me. Her father looked up at Maggie through tears. Thank you, thank you. Maggie nodded, her throat too tight to speak. She turned away, stepping into the hallway to give them privacy. Titan followed, pressing against her leg. Maggie pulled out her phone and opened her photos. Emma's face smiled back at her, gap-toothed, messy hair, chocolate smeared on her cheek. She could have lost her. Any of these parents could have lost their children forever. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Detective Chen. The woman is talking. She says there's a transport scheduled tonight. Maury children, different location. We need you. Maggie looked down at Titan. His eyes met hers. Ready, always ready. This wasn't over.